And we continue at 1:05 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, the city of Newport Beach says enough is enough, and they want the cops this spring to crack down on drunk spring breaking college kids.
Uh-oh.
Party's over, boys.
At one point in time, didn't that used to be Lake Havasu? I think it was. And Palm Springs at one time. And then the people went nuts and they got rid of the spring breakers. What are you going to do? 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to more of your calls later on in the hour. But right now, it is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is a candidate for California Attorney General in the 2026 election, which is later this year, the June primary. You can get him online at gates4ag.com. Michael Gates, welcome.
Thank you for having me, John.
Why should you be the next Attorney General for the state of California?
Well, I appreciate the question. The short answer is I'm perfectly positioned for this because of my broad experience. Normally, Attorney General candidates are career criminal prosecutors. More recently, they're more like Governor Newsom, political appointees. But I am a completely different attorney. I was the city attorney of Huntington Beach for 10 years. I made a career out of fighting the nonsense coming from Sacramento. I fought crime too. I even started a criminal prosecutor program at the city level in Huntington Beach in 2017. And because we prosecuted crimes at the city level in conjunction with cooperation with the district attorney, we reduced crime by double digits. We also reduced homelessness by over 60% in Huntington Beach. We fought Newsom when he shut down our beaches back in 2020 to open up our beaches again. We fought high-density housing mandates coming down from Sacramento, and Huntington Beach has yet to cave and basically adopt the high-density housing mandates that Newsom has been, pushing all over the state of California. I even fought the state of California for parental rights when AB 1955 came down, basically the state mandating that teachers keep secrets from parents with regard to their children's gender identity. And I fought the sanctuary state policies of the state in court and declared I crafted an ordinance declaring Huntington Beach a non-sanctuary city. So out of the 482 cities in the state of California, Huntington Beach is actually a non-sanctuary city. And then finally, voter ID. I was the architect of Huntington Beach's local voter ID law. I have experience in election integrity, including working for the Department of Justice for the past year, enforcing federal elections laws. So I bring to the table a whole lot more experience and a whole lot more, familiarity and contact with issues that are of concern for everyday Californians. I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I have not operated in an ivory tower. I am not an elitist. I'm an everyday Californian who ran for city attorney of Huntington Beach and got elected and fought for 10 years for the people of Huntington Beach. So I'm just a completely different kind of candidate. But folks should know my reputation in Huntington Beach and throughout Orange County is that I'm a fighter for the people. I'm not afraid to fight. I've been in the ring looking for fights. Why? Because California has gone so far astray of common sense and the rule of law, and I just can't wait for the people to put me into office. I'm going to fight for that $250 billion that we're now hearing is unaccounted for through waste, fraud, and abuse. And let me tell you, when I get my hands on the wheel and I'm in charge of prosecuting those cases, not only are people going to go to jail quickly, but we are going to claw back that money and return as much of that $250 billion of lost hard-earned taxpayer money. We're going to return it back to the taxpayer. So there's a whole bunch of reasons that I'm ready for this, and I am hoping and praying and asking for the community to take a look at my campaign and to put me into office. I got this. I promise you.
It's interesting to me that you're from Huntington Beach, because Huntington Beach, to my eye, is one of the best run big cities in the state of California, despite the fact that Sacramento puts up every imaginable roadblock that they can. That city is clean, that city is safe, that city is able to function in ways that other big cities in the state of California are not. And one of the words that's thrown around Sacramento a lot from members of the legislature, from the statewide constitutional office holders, is equity. Everything needs to be equitable. Equity, equity, equity. That's all you hear from them. To their mind, though, equity is making every city in the state of California look like Los Angeles. Make every city in California look like Skid Row. And if Huntington Beach is going to go their own way and they're going to prove that you don't have to look like Skid Row, you can look like a clean, safe place, then Sacramento comes down on them like a ton of bricks and they say, no, it's not equitable for your city to be clean and safe and for other cities to be basket cases. To make things equitable, we need to make you a basket case too.
Absolutely. And we call ourselves in Huntington Beach, and for the listeners, Huntington Beach is the 23rd largest city in the state of California of 482 cities. So we're in the top 4%. We're very, very big, actually. But we are the land of the free and the home of the brave in crazy California. We have fought for this, and it has paid off big time, big dividends. Like I said, through enforcement and through responsible government, we have reduced our homeless population by over 60% over the past few years. Our crime rates have dropped dramatically. We're probably the safest city in the state of California, frankly. We've got beautiful beaches open to the public. We have fought the high density housing so that we don't have these stack and packs on every street corner in Huntington Beach. We are a wonderful city, and it's because, John, we fought back and we absolutely rejected the nonsense coming out of Sacramento. And they can have the bully pulpit. I get it. Like Newsom's got a big stage, a big microphone, and he's got all these press releases dressing down cities that don't cooperate, bullying cities that don't cooperate. But that has meant nothing to us. As I said, I spent 10 years fighting Newsom and fighting Governor Brown before him. And I have a great record of fighting. In fact, one of the lawsuits, we actually, it's amazing, through the state has previously failed to reimburse the city of Huntington Beach for redevelopment loans. And I won't get into the wonky aspects of it, but suffice it to say that we prevailed in court, proving that the state of California wrongfully withheld $38 million from Huntington Beach taxpayers. So we got a court to agree with us and order the state of California, literally, Newsom writing checks to Huntington Beach for $38 million. Why? Because we stood up and fight when the odds were against us. We stood up and fight when all these other cities said, don't bother, there's no point in fighting that fight. We fought and we brought back $38 million. So fighting for the sake of fighting, because we have got to stand up for the rule of law. And if you're never going to win if you don't take the fight to them anyway, right? So we're a city known for putting up the fight, and we're a city now known for winning and keeping, like I said, common sense, the rule of law. We are the land of the free and home of the brave. And when I become Attorney General, I want that for every city. Just as a quick example, John, we have a city-level prosecutor, as I mentioned. That's a brand new program that I brought in 2017. It's reduced crime by double digits. I want every city in the state of California to have a city-level prosecutor. There are cities that rely entirely on their district attorneys. I want every city to have a prosecutor, just like Huntington Beach, so that they can fight crime by double digits. Reduce crime by double digits and fight crime. They can reduce homelessness through enforcement efforts overnight. So there's a whole host of things that can be done where other cities can benefit from good leadership. And I have had direct experience doing this stuff, even election integrity. You know, when I'm the Attorney General, one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to look into all of the elections irregularities that have been reported up and down the state of California. And we are going to make sure that every county clerk, every election system is compliant with state elections law, but also federal elections law. As you probably know, California is not actually actively verifying the eligibility of voters. Yet under the 1993 National Voter Registration Act that was signed into law by Bill Clinton, and all 50 states cooperate with it and are subject to it, that requires that the states verify the eligibility of voters, including citizenship. California doesn't actually actively verify anything. They just let those who go to the DMV on a touch screen sign up and register to vote. That's not the state verifying the eligibility of voters. So when I'm in office, we're going to change all that.
You mentioned waste, fraud, and abuse before, and obviously that's top of mind right now over what was uncovered in the state of Minnesota. I had the former sheriff of Los Angeles County, Alex Villanueva, on the show yesterday, and he said that he believes that the waste, fraud, and abuse in California will dwarf whatever it is that they've been able to find in Minnesota many times over. He said that when he was sheriff, just what he saw with his own eyes led him to believe that you're talking about money stolen from taxpayers to the tune of billions of dollars. Do you believe the problem is that widespread?
Yeah, the estimates that we have are 250 billion, so it's in the billions, 250 billion. And it is widespread, and it's almost in every pocket, every corner of the way government has been run and distributed money. So whether it's in-home health care, whether it's hospice care, whether it's food support systems, whether it's the homeless industrial complex, wherever you look, wherever there is a government program, there is waste. We're finding waste, fraud, and abuse. So I think it's in excess of 250 billion, which is $250 billion. And just to put that in perspective, too, for the listeners, if you go by population, 40 million people in the state of California, that's over $6,000 per person of hard-earned taxpayer money squandered, wasted, or fraud, or due to fraud, lost due to fraud. That's over $6,000. If you go by taxpayers, there's 20 million taxpayers in the state of California. That means it's over $12,000 per taxpayer that essentially, effectively, the government has taken from you through the tax collection system and has completely lost through waste, fraud, and abuse. So this is definitely a hot button issue. And every person, whether you're a taxpayer or not in California, should be absolutely seething with anger. This hard-earned money, and look, let's understand what's going on here. Most Californians live in the highest gas price state, the highest tax state, the highest crime rates, and the highest homeless, and then the list goes on. Californians, everyday Californians, are already struggling to make ends meet and put food on the table. And then to add insult to injury, they turn on the television at night or they turn on the radio or social media, and they hear that, oh, oops, Newsom and Attorney General Bonta and our other elitists in Sacramento lost or can't account for $250 billion of hard-earned taxpayer money. So to add insult to injury, now our Californians who are struggling to make ends meet are hearing that the government is irresponsible with their tax money. And our leaders are fiduciaries to the taxpayer. So this is a scandal larger than life. I mean, this is massive. And like I said, when I'm the Attorney General, these are not going to be like, hand slaps. I mean, we're looking for handcuffs. We are not going to have indefinite investigations. We're going to get the investigations done quickly, diligently, and we're going to prosecute, and we're going to put the criminals, the wrongdoers, behind bars as soon as possible. And John, like I said, I'm committed to clawing back that money. I want to find these individuals and these organizations that stole from the taxpayer. And in addition to holding them accountable by putting them behind bars, we're going to also hold them accountable by clawing back that tax money. And I'm going to work with the governor, and I'm on the campaign trail with Steve Hilton, who I believe is going to be our next governor. I want to work with the governor to give that money back to the taxpayer. I think they should get rebate checks for all of this stolen money from them. Once like I said, once I get into office, we investigate, we prosecute, we put people behind bars, and we claw back that money.
The incumbent Attorney General, Rob Bonta, seems to have no interest at all in rooting out this waste, fraud, and abuse. He's seeking headlines nationally by suing the Trump administration with nuisance lawsuit after nuisance lawsuit over and over and over again. That is clearly where he wants to spend his time. That being said, I think the problem is bigger even than Rob Bonta. I mean, you look at just the way that state government is structured here in California, it doesn't even seem like the bureaucracy has any interest at finding out this waste, fraud, and abuse and doing anything about it either. I know in my own personal life, someone I know retired, took a CalPERS pension, moved to Mexico, and we now are of the belief that this person had passed away, and the caretaker is now assuming this person's identity and continuing to cash CalPERS check after CalPERS check. So a bunch of us who are mutual friends got together, we compared notes, we figured out, okay, this is likely what's happening. And we went to CalPERS to let them know that we think that money is being stolen from them. And there's no mechanism to report abuse or fraud. There was no way for us to be able to pass that information to an individual or a department that could theoretically do something about it. You just talk to these AI telephone trees forever, and you finally get a voicemail that sounds like the wrong one. You leave a message, and nothing ever happens. And you go, okay, hundreds of thousands of dollars have been stolen from the state of California because they won't do anything about this. You're trying to help them figure it out and stop the fraud, and they don't want to hear from you.
Right. And so there's an answer to that, and that is the controller's office. So that's why the controller's race is so important. And I'm also on the campaign trail with a gentleman named Herb Morgan. The controller's office has the authority and the ability to audit every single government agency in the state of California. And so Herb is running on investigating and routing out this waste, fraud, and abuse by performing all of these audits and investigations. Once he is done with his work on that issue, he refers it to the Attorney General's office, and then we can move forward with prosecution. To your point about Rob Bonta, so that just shows the fact that he's focused on the Trump administration just shows how out of touch he is with everyday Californians. There's this massive gap between what everyday Californians experience and what Rob Bonta thinks are high priorities. He's focused on his 54 lawsuits against the Trump administration, and without commenting on the merit of those, he's parading around touting that he is fighting Trump while we have high crime rates here in California, while we have high rates of homelessness here, while we have this fraud. And like you said, Bonta's been in office for 5 years, and Attorney General Bonta has literally done nothing on this issue, this topic of the waste, fraud, and abuse. And it's in the $250 billion figure that we're talking about has ballooned under him. So on his watch, on Attorney General Rob Bonta's watch, the government has allowed $250 billion of hard-earned taxpayer money to go lost to waste, fraud, and abuse. That's all on his watch. You have never heard from his office about them launching an investigation or them even being concerned about it. Why? Because all of these programs that are pillaging the taxpayer coffers for through waste, fraud, and abuse, he knows them. He knows of them. He's involved. I mean, let's put it this way. He's mired in his own controversy. He spent $500,000, $500,000 on criminal defense attorneys to protect himself, to defend him. Why? Because there are a number of investigations going on where he has interesting or maybe questionable associations. And so people are asking him now questions about some of the corruption that is being investigated, including the federal government. The federal government is asking him questions. And so it's because he's now under scrutiny. He's being asked a barrage of questions. He had to hire he spent $500,000 on criminal defense attorneys to help him answer those questions. So Rob Bonta, as an attorney general, not only is the worst attorney general I think we've ever had in the state of California, but he's extremely vulnerable. And so when people ask me, why are you doing this right now at this time? I think now is the time.
All right.
Californians across the board, John, as you know, Democrat, Independent, and Republicans alike, we really do care less about the number of lawsuits filed against the Trump administration. We care more about where is our tax money going? Why are we hearing about fraud related to our tax money? Why is crime so high? Why is homelessness so high? Why is Attorney General Bonta suing hospitals right now and proud of it?
All right, Michael, we're going to have to leave it there. I'm up against a hard break. Michael Gates, candidate for California Attorney General. You can get him online at gates4ag.com. Thank you for your time. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Candidate for governor Katie Porter says people are living on the streets in California not because of addiction or mental illness, but because of the high cost of living.
Homelessness is not primarily about addiction or about mental health. We don't have more people with mental health problems here than we do in other states. What we do have here is much more expensive housing.
I think she's dead wrong. What say you? At 800-222-5222, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Max in San Francisco. Max, hello.
I live in affordable housing in San Francisco, gated community. A drug addict family moved in here 30 years ago. They destroyed the lives of all the children. The mother ended up killing the father and beat the rap. And there was a homeless kid, one of her children, living in a sleeping bag right outside our gate. She never would allow him in, and he completely lost his mind. He dresses up in a Tony the Tiger outfit and goes into the Panhandle and does his drugs. He used to be a promising plumber. And so, okay, now here's the solution for all this. This is why I'm calling you. As I stated in my email, I'd like to invoke the collective unconsciousness so this can go viral. We need a solution to people like Katie Porter and all these people that your guest Gates was just talking about. These people are looting our state, and then they run out of money, and then they put more initiatives on the ballot to get more money from you, and then these stupid people pass to raise your taxes. We got to stop that. Here's the solution. I like to invoke through the collective unconsciousness someone to create an AI Proposition 81 reparations back to taxpayers initiative. And this is what the initiative would have. They would have reparations back to the taxpayer. All junkets need to be approved by 2/3 vote of approval. And when you put something out to the one mind, I need an AI person out there to grab this. I don't care if they want to take credit for it or whatever. To have
problem is most of our AI people just make silly caricatures of us.
But this is one that could have really repercussion.
Or sometimes it's songs about Shang Tao.
Yeah, well, create an AI, a CNN type announcement that Prop 81 has passed by 60% of the voters to do all these things. And once you put that out in the one mind, somebody's going to pick that up, and you could see this go viral. And then you would see photographs of Newsom, Katie Porter, Karen Bass in suits like race car drivers, covered with patches that say PG&E, State Farm, French Laundry. I hope I'm making sense here. So I'm putting out an idea to put out a fictitious CNN announcement that this has already passed. And you have all your politicians lined up. In the background, you'd have the burning homeless encampments.
So you want satire, essentially, political satire that mocks what's going on right now in the state.
Yeah, but presented as a CNN or a news or a Fox News thing, where as if it actually passed, because the time between the gap between.
Do you think CNN can fake Alex Michelson? The AI can fake Alex?
Well, I think if we did that, we'd end up getting sued. So I appreciate the thought. I appreciate the sentiment, sir. But after spending a month on jury duty, I never want to go to another courthouse again.
Shangy, what do you think of that idea?
That's right. I like that. That was amazing.
Shangy's all about that collective unconscious or whatever that was about.
Let's go to Robert in Hollywood. Robert, hello.
Hello. We need a collective consciousness here. I think the problems are, we're going to go around in a circle here, whether we want to fix California, the United States, or the Western world. I think if you rank the root of things in the ivory tower where the philosophers are, and it comes from philosophy, I think...
Did we just move to George Norrie's time slot?
No, I'm serious. You check your history, you'll see that it was Thomas Aquinas that brought Aristotle into the church, and we had the Renaissance, and then it was John Rawls that gave us the Age of Enlightenment, and the Founding Fathers took from there. And the roots are Aristotelian, Christian Aristotelian, if you like. And so I think the problems are philosophical in the ivory tower, and I think there's much to be done there.
Well, here's the problem. Katie Porter's day job is a professor. She is a professor at UCI. People like her are the ones that are educating the students.
I understand that. That is in the ivory tower. And
Yeah.
that's what we have to work is in the ivory tower because the wrong philosophies are being taught.
Did I ingest some mushrooms during the break? All right, let's move on.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir.
You know, sometimes we're like, boy, these calls are so great. We should do this for the second hour. And then we regret it.
All right. Let's go to Vera in Torrance. Vera.
Save us.
Welcome.
I don't appreciate that blanket you threw over everybody homeless as a drug addict and has alcoholism. I've been homeless 20 years. I'm neither crazy and I'm not a drug addict nor an alcoholic. The reason why I lost my place was the lady that bought it from my landlord. She lost it. She sold it to an illegal. He brought his people in, raised my rent to $1,000. I could not afford it. I had been in that apartment building for 20 years, and I didn't know where to go. So I agreed to pay that rent. I lost all my savings. I've been in my car, and I have a siphon that comes in that keeps me rolling. But I'm a hardcore conservative. I'm going to vote for Steve. And that guy you just had on, I'm going to vote for him too. Although he's totally against a person like me that can't afford rent because it is too high. And I'm not moving in with a bunch of, like I said yesterday, drug addicts and crazies because they get housing first. There's a lot of me out here. And we will not surrender to living next door to a freaking lunatic.
Okay, well, here's a question, Vera. Why not? There are other parts of the state that are less expensive than in Los Angeles County, certainly than the South Bay. The South Bay is one of the most expensive parts of the entire state of California. Why not go to some other part of the state? Why not go to the Inland Empire or the Central Valley?
By myself, I've been out there, the city of industry, out there, hot, dusty, dry. long blocks. All the illegals have all the housing. That's another thing. What do you call it when refugees, illegals get the housing? The Section 8 been closed. I tried for that 40 years ago. It was booked. They never call you back. But the government has deep pockets. So they give the greedy landlords $2,000 a month, $225 a month. The average citizen can't compete with that kind of money working a lay job. That's your problem. Government is paying for everybody's housing. The average citizen can't afford to compete with that. You got more American citizens out here that have worked their whole life and can't afford an apartment. But you know who's in there? Refugees, Somalians. Yeah. Government's paying all their bills. What say you?
Well, I just don't understand. From your point of view, you're in your right mind. You're having an issue with the affordability of the South Bay. To my eye, the South Bay is a place that I couldn't afford to buy a house in the South Bay right now. That's not an option for me.
I stay in the South Bay because it's safe. And I don't throw trash on the ground. I don't steal. I don't do anything because anybody, any problem. I'm 76 years old. Do you think I can hold down a fight? No.
But you could get an apartment in Victorville.
Who's in Victorville for me? A bunch of illegals? Do you know what lives in Victorville and these places? Non-speaking Mexicans that resent. I'm a mulatto, okay? I'm not totally black, but they don't like.
I haven't heard anyone use that term in a while.
What, mulatto? That's what I am. I'm half Irish. I'm more Irish than I am black because my mother was full-blood Irish and she raised me. So I got a lot of Irish in me, okay? Temperament and everything else. You know?
I can tell. All right. Well, thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
That just happened.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you move to the Inland Empire or the Central Valley if those were your options?
I would love to be living in Torrance right now. I live in the dumpy San Fernando Valley because that's the best I can do right now. And I commute, even though I hate it, but I have a home. So these are the choices that people can make. And nobody's entitled to live on the coast.
Okay, can you pull up? You have the computer in front of you. What does a studio apartment go for right now in Bakersfield?
Okay. Average cost of studio apartment in Bakersfield. Come on, Google Gemini. It is approximately $967 to $974 per month as of early 2026. Some options are as low as $700. Some options are as high as $1,000.
Okay, and you can find a safe neighborhood in Bakersfield.
Yes, you can. There's also the meth part of town, but there's also the non-meth part of town.
Yeah, I'd avoid that part of Bakersfield. How about Fresno? Pull Fresno up.
All right, in Fresno, the average cost of a studio apartment in Fresno is approximately $950 to $1,000 per month, with some places going as low as $800 to some places going as high as $1,300.
Okay, there you go. Fresno is a big city. They have different neighborhoods.
Also avoid the meth part of that town.
But there are very safe rural areas in California that are inexpensive.
Now, when it comes to Torrance, the average cost of a studio apartment is between $1,600 to $1,800 a month. It's a lot more expensive.
It's almost double what you would pay in those other cities. What about those gold rush towns? Amador County, Jackson, outside of Sacramento. That's where they make wine. I know you'd like it up there, Randy. What do they charge for a studio in Jackson?
In Amador County, you can get a studio for between $777 a month to $1,100 a month.
And it is beautiful in Amador County. You don't have to worry about crime. Well, I guess there are cows there. If the cows trample you, that could be a problem. But that's it. Drunk drivers, people going to the wineries, going to the tasting rooms.
There is that.
If I was on a very limited budget and I wanted to live in a safe area, I would live there.
Lodi, another wine town. Between $928 to $1,100. Some older units as low as $650. You could live in Lodi.
There you go. Just don't count on your liver functioning too long. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. 2 is the telephone number. Let's go to John in Ventura. John, hello.
Hi, John. How you doing?
Good.
I'm retired law enforcement out of Ventura County. I worked 30 years with the sheriff's office. But specifically, my last 6 years, I worked in the community resource unit where we had the first homeless deputy assigned to any of the police departments in the county. And his specific job was to go do outreach with the homeless people in the community. As smart as Katie Porter thinks she is, she has no experience actually out in the field. 90%, you're right, at least 90 to 95% is drugs and mental health are the issues. The other 5% are probably maybe people that had some bad luck with their jobs, their homes, maybe going through a divorce, but they were a lot easier to help because they were willing to go out and get a job. With this homeless deputy that we had, he would help these people. He'd go to them, he'd partner with behavior health. He would go to them out in the field. He would offer them programs. And like some of the other callers said, they'd offer them housing, but they had to abide by the rules, and they didn't want to do that. They didn't want somebody telling them what they had to do. The people that actually really wanted housing that may have lost a job or went through a divorce and had kids, they were right there with willing to, whatever help you offer was willing to do it. A lot of these counties now have these programs called one-stop programs, where if you're homeless, they can go once a week, and it's usually held at a church, and they offer a variety of services there, where they can do banking, checking, medical, you name it, an electric company, water company, and they can take care of all their business there, and they can help them, and they can even help them apply for jobs there. Somebody will show up with a computer, and they will help them if they want the help. But what we found out, at least in the 6 years that I supervised the unit, is the majority of these people don't want to help. They want to be able to do what they want to do without having to conform to society.
What do you make of that last caller that we just took, Vera, who is clearly someone who's not on drugs, she's not mentally ill, she's 76 years old, got evicted from her place because the place was sold and they wanted to put someone else in there and move her out. And she likes living in the South Bay because she feels safe. And I asked her, why not move to a different part of California that's less expensive? And the answer was, I don't want to live there. I like living by the coast. And if I have to live in my car to live there, I'm going to live in my car.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Here's the other problem we had. I'm 63. I grew up here in Ventura County. What happened when we were younger and people couldn't afford to live in certain places? They moved to where they were able to afford it. But people don't want to do that anymore. They think they can live wherever they want. You know what? I'd love to live in Beverly Hills in a gated community, but I can't afford that. So I have to live in a place that I could afford. She has to be willing, if she wants to not live on the street. I feel sorry for Vera. She sounds like a good woman. But she needs to be able to move somewhere that she can afford to live. To me, it doesn't make sense. Would you rather live on the street, or would you rather live in a house in an area where you can afford, feel good about yourself, paying your bills, and being good to society? It sounds like she's a good person, and she's not willing to do what she needs to do to find housing.
At 76 years of age, I know it's got to be tough, where you feel like people are trying to take advantage of you. You feel like people might be willing to rob you, those sorts of things. And she wants to live in a place where she feels safe. I'm now looking at what a studio apartment costs in Cathedral City, California. That's right smack dab in between Palm Springs and Rancho Mirage, two of the toniest cities in the entire state of California, in an area that has every imaginable thing to appeal to seniors. $1,200 for a studio apartment in a safe area that would cater to someone like her. It's not safe. As someone who's been in law enforcement his entire career, would you give her the advice to move to an area like that and stop living in her car?
Absolutely, 100%. And the thing is, her being a senior, she may not have to pay that full amount. She can get some kind of help. These cities, every one of the cities are now offering this kind of help to these people, where they don't have to pay the full boat. She may only have to pay $200 or $300, and they'll cover the rest. And then once she's in and they see that she's a good renter and everything, they'll keep the rent at that level, and she'll be able to afford it. I don't know
All
how
right.
she could feel safe living on her own out without any kind of housing. You know what I'm saying? So
All right. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you for the call, sir.